Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tracy Siska. I'm an executive director of the Chicago Justice Project. Welcome to our first episode of a new stream of content to our YouTube channel, focusing on the activities of the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 7, called FOP Watch. Definitely a union with an antisocial history, to say the least. For example, in 1993, when John Burge was fired from the Chicago Police Department for torturing confessions, many of which were false, out of suspects using horrific methods. In 1993, after John Burge was fired for torturing confessions from suspects, the FOP attempted to run a float in the St. Patrick's Day parade honoring John Burge. Also, they've had a long history of crying about how hard the police accountability system is on officers. Totally deranged because the data does not back it up. For instance, here's a chart from our 2009 study of 10 years of police board decisions. Police board is an organization last in line in the police accountability system and determines whether officers get fired. And at this point, they did officers, sworn officers, and civilian employees. You can look, it's basically a 100% difference in the rate at which they terminate civilian employees versus officers. Here's another chart on the rates at which they returned officers to civilian employees to work, which basically means they're found not guilty of all charges, no suspension of termination. You can see the difference there is a factor of 5. The FOP and their leadership view these numbers as proof that the police accountability system doesn't work and it's too hard on officers. More proof of the alt-right playing the victim. Let's zero in on the FOP's recent history. In 2020, John Catanzara, 25-year veteran, was elected president of the FOP, and in 2023, March of 2023, he was reelected. He is an example, in my opinion, of the extreme alt-right. Let's take a look at the available evidence. The images here are coming from the Chicago Office of Police Accountability through a Freedom of Information request we filed to get this information, and they come right from our report on John Catanzara and his history and his social media activity. Link will be in the description. This is his response to the city's vaccine mandate. Last but not least, here's Catanzara defending the January 6th insurrectionists. They didn't do anything wrong. There was no violence. Remember, he's viewing this through the prism of a trained Chicago police officer with 25 years on the street. He couldn't tell there was any violence? Scary. For decades, the FOP leadership, in one way or another, has represented extreme right-wing thoughts, ideology. And that's exactly why we created this new stream of content. Our first story in our new stream is about Bobby Rush, Congressman Bobby Rush, now retired, and the cops that broke in and lounged in his office during the city's response to the 2020 uprising around George Floyd. And the fact that the FOP has been for years and is still trying to remove the disciplinary channel to the Chicago Police Board. The police board just gets cases of long suspensions and termination, and the FOP does not like it. The police boards are not basically an organization that made up of 9 civilian members that sit as a jury on serious police discipline cases. The FOP does not like it. Why don't they like it? Well, first of all, the CPD, the police board, is open to the public. Their hearings, the transcripts, all the evidence. Arbitration, which is the other process, is secret. Now, we've heard from justice officials, justice system stakeholders, and police accountability leaders. The city loses so often in arbitration and what's called, non-binding arbitration, binding arbitration. They lose so often that they just get, when the officer grieves their discipline, instead of going through the arbitration, they know they're going to lose. They just reduce the discipline. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, the study we did, published in 2009, said the police board fires 37% of the officers. Now, that was pretty bad, right? One would think. So what percentage of cases that go through arbitration see a reduction in discipline, reduction or elimination in discipline, and then an expungement of the record? Here's a chart showing data from the Office of Inspector General's recent review of the arbitration process. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, nearly 80% of the cases see either a reduction or elimination in the discipline. 80% of the cases. Any questions? The FOP complains about political corruption in politics and in the city, but then benefits from this arbitration process that reduces or eliminates discipline on 80% of the officers. Now, just for context, ladies and gentlemen, the Office of Professional Standards, that was then preceded by the Independent Police Review Authority, that was then preceded by the Citizens Office of Police Accountability, or COPA, have always found just a small percentage of cases, 2, 3, 4, 5%, through all those years. They've only sustained charges in that small percentage of cases. And the FOP and their leadership and their membership complaining we're too hard on officers. Too hard when about 3 or 4% of the cases get sustained findings. And then what you're seeing here, ladies and gentlemen, is then those cases go through the disciplinary process, and unless it's really serious discipline, it's grieved. And in about 80% of those cases, the discipline is either reduced or eliminated. Well, what are they complaining about? You might ask yourself why this is coming out now, and it's basically WBEZ's Chip Mitchell recently wrote an article about how through the arbitration process, the officers involved in sitting and lounging in Congressman Bobby Rush's office while they were supposed to be responding to the uprising related to George Floyd, instead were caught lounging, eating his popcorn, drinking his coffee. Just about all of them had their discipline reduced. Some had it completely eliminated and their records expunged. Ridiculous. But it doesn't stop the FOP and the alt-right leadership crying about this police accountability system. It just proves if there's one thing consistent about the alt-right, they're wonderful, they're professional at just being victims. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please drop a like on this video. Please smash that subscribe button because we'd really appreciate it if you were watching future videos. Also, remember to check out our Chicago Justice podcast for in-depth interviews with justice system leaders and stakeholders.